I will fight anyone who stands in my way.
And here is a look at Nemesis Prime with all his accessories. So let's go over them, starting off with the instructions sheet. And when you open it up, you can see the contents, all the accessories and the storage for them. And then the transformation is pretty easy in that it's very intuitive. It just takes some time to carefully look at the parts and see how, you know, they need to be properly manipulated so that you could transform it. And I'm just letting you know that I actually took the time to transform it with no instructions. And to my surprise, it was actually pretty easy, with the exception of just trying to make sure you get the arms orientated correctly so that they fit in the cab back here. So that was the only part that was actually a little tricky, but overall it's an easy transformation. And then here is the accessories, so let's go over them, starting off here with his sword. And I'll show you the comparisons with the age of the, was it, yeah, the other one, the AOE, the age of extinction. Yeah, so yeah, it's basically just darker. And then they gave you the little attachment piece so you could store this in his back. I'll just show that off later. And then here they give you a different weapon. They give you the little sword that he was using to fight Bumblebee, I think. And then they gave you a blaster, which I believe this is Hound's blaster, just painted gray and blue. I don't know, or it's a blue plastic painted gray. And then the shield, which basically is the same thing as the Age of the Extinction, just a darker grip plastic. And so yeah, you could see this is the way they make it open. They just give you two different slots, so you just have to untab them and then tab them in a different position. And in terms of product design, that's actually pretty smart, just to make three different pieces. But functionally it doesn't work, you know, as probably the way we would like it to, which is just to split them open. But anyways, here's a look at that. And then let's now take a closer look at the figure. Let's do it this way so we can get a better view. And here is the main difference. So here you could see the head sculpt is different, and it is also painted with the purple eyes. Yeah. And then I'll just point out the other difference is basically just the sculpt or the mold of the forearms. It looks a little different, but everything else is pretty much the same, just different color decals. So yeah, here is a look at the Nemesis Prime. And now for some comparisons, I said I'll just go over these as quickly as I can. So first, the sword. So you could see it's pretty much the same thing, just a different shade. I actually like this color because it looks shinier. This looks like it's dull, so you could see a little brighter and darker. And then they both have the same adapter piece to store the sword in his back. And like I said, I'll show you how that works. You just basically come to his back, and then this top part of the cab, you lift it up, and then you could see the little slot there to tab that in. And that's basically how you can store this sword. I mean, it looks kind of cool. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on it, but yeah, I'm just doing this just to show you the difference there. I think it goes this way. And then the shield. So here you could see you just tab it into the different area if you want it open or closed. And it's the same thing like the sword. You could see just the different color plastic. The lighter one, to me, I think looks nicer. But, you know, that's really subjective. So it's just based on your personal preference, what you like. So yeah, here's a sword. And then they also, this is what they kind of switched also. The little sword on the hand. I don't remember if he had this. If he did, I think it was like a different color. But yeah, you can see you just pull down the forearm and then you could tab that in. And here, this one's a little bit different. I think this was when he was fighting Bumblebee. I'm not sure, but yeah, here you just tab it in the same way. And then this one, there's only one thing extra you get. You get the blaster, Hound's blaster, and you could store that on there. So yeah, that's kind of cool in terms of the accessories. So now as far as the figure goes, yeah, I'll just keep it short and simple so you could see the difference between the two. It's pretty much the same mold, just like I was telling you. The only major difference is just the head sculpt is different. So let's just take a closer look and maybe you could see the difference between the head and then also the forearm. So that's pretty much it. Everything else is the same, just a different shade of color. And again, for me, personally, just my opinion and preference, I actually like the color on the Age of the Extinction because the blue here just kind of stands out a little bit more, and it pops with the contrast between the lighter gray. So lighter gray, darker blue. Here you could see they're both dark, so it kind of like blends into, fuse together like one color. So yeah, that's why I kind of like this one. But you know, there's the other aspect. You know, this one was from the movie. It was kind of interesting to see a Nemesis Prime and him fighting Bumblebee. So yeah. So here's just a comparison with that.
Our worlds are joined as one. We need to repair our planets.
And here is a look at Nemesis Prime with some of the other Studio Series Autobots from the last night. And this looks a little awkward to me because Nemesis Prime should not be with the Autobots. Only that scene where he was fighting Bumblebee. So this suggests to me that we are most likely probably going to get a Studio Series The Last Night Optimus Prime to go with this set, because we do know we're getting the Studio Series The Last Night Hound. And with that, I'm hoping maybe we'll get a smaller version of Squeaks here, like we did with the baby Dinobots that came with the drift, because yeah, the scale and proportion. But anyways, here you could see what this looks like. So now let's just zoom in and take a closer look. So here you already saw the Nemesis Prime that looks funny with the other Autobots. But here, this is the Last Night Hound with the upgrade set for those feet that this should have came with. And then here is, I don't know if it was exclusive, but yeah, here's the Studio Series Drift with the baby Dinobots with some cool little painted eyes. That's cool. And I'll just speak to that, you know, afterwards. Something about the finish here, the paint, the aesthetics and all that. Here's the Bumblebee. And I think there is a version that comes with that battle axe, you know, when he was fighting Optimus, but yeah, I didn't get it. But yeah, at least I have this one. And yeah, you can see like all of these, they're not really painted. And yeah, I'll speak to that in a little bit. But yeah, here you could see Cogman. And this is one of the reasons why I started this, because when I saw this at Target in Newport, or not Newport, Orange County, I had to pick it up because, yeah, it's very rare that you get nicely painted figures like this, nicely painted silver. And then back here we have the Studio Series crosshairs. So all of these are upgrades from their previous The Last Night version. Also here we have Hot Rod. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then the squeaks from The Last Night, like I said, we need a small version, just like we have the small baby Dinobots. But yeah, here is a look at some of the Autobots from The Last Night, some of the Studio Series, and some from the original Last Night version. So yeah, I said I'll just speak to some of this because I wanted to share this just to document. You know, this particular line, the movie line, you know, they have a different design. There's more, you know, all this detail. It's not your typical G1 style, you know, kind of like the boxy shoulder, boxy bicep, boxy forearm with just a little bit of sculpted detail. So it's easy, you know, you can easily replicate that in the toy form. However, with the movie version, you could see the movie design. They have all this extra detail. It's more intricate in design. And so trying to replicate that in the mainline collection is very limited, you know, because of the cost and stuff. So you get very little paint. So my point to it is, as nice as these are as figures, just mainline, you know, transforming it back and forth, if you want to capture a really nice figures that looks good aesthetically, I think these are probably best to collect in the masterpiece form, because we know the masterpiece form of this, it has all that nice paint. It has more of like a metallic dark gray paint and stuff like that. So that's my point. But anyways, instead of rambling, I just thought I'd share that and here give you a look. This looks like a nice set. It's just, again, this should not be Nemesis Prime. It should be Optimus Prime, which I have a feeling we are probably going to get a Studio Series Last Night Optimus Prime.
You destroyed your world, you fool! My perfect creation. You're going to fix it, or the race of Transformers dies forever.
So now, to try to keep the review short, let's go ahead and transform Nemesis Prime to his alt mode and take a look at that. Okay, to transform Nemesis Prime from his robot mode to his alt mode, let's just first remove all the accessories. So simply untab all of this. And then here I'm not going to give any instructions. I'm just going to transform it and try to do it slow and carefully so you could see what I'm doing. And just kind of want to see just how much faster this will help without always trying to explain the steps of the transformation as my way of trying to be helpful, so you know how to transform figures so you don't break them. Not really mainline, but you know, the masterpiece figures and stuff, because mainline figures like I'm doing right now, for the most part, mainline figures, they're pretty easy to transform, pretty intuitive, as you could see. It's just some of them, they're a little bit more involved, such as this one, because there's more steps to the transformation meaning, you know, there's more parts you need to manipulate and open up to figure out how these things go. But like I said, for the most part, it's pretty intuitive in that you could figure out where all these parts are supposed to go. And as long as you do everything correct, it should all work pretty easy. And like I always said, one of the things that helps to make it easy to figure out how to transform is if you're using a reference, like looking at a stock image photo of it, so you know what you're trying to do. Kind of just like puzzle pieces. You know, when you're making a puzzle, you look to see where all the parts are supposed to go. Something similar to that effect. And yeah, so as I'm doing this, I'm trying to also think of something else to say so that I'm not focused on describing the steps to the transformation. So yeah, well, I will say this, I always make sure to point out certain things like this middle area. I think I said it in the review somewhere that yeah, it was pretty easy figuring out how to transform it, except for the arms. The arms were the only challenging part because it was a little difficult trying to figure out how these are supposed to properly be manipulated. But like I said, you know, that's kind of like the fun challenge, is, you know, trying to figure out where all these parts are supposed to go. Like such as finding the tabs and the slot, that kind of helps you to know where they're supposed to go. And then the hinges, that's pretty straightforward, you know, that they swivel and fold open and close and stuff like that. But, you know, I always try to point out things that I think are important to know. Like this one is like a panel former, and that, yeah, it causes some issues, which you'll see. So I'll point that out. Trying to, you know, the panel formers with all the tabs. Yeah, trying to get them all to tab in place securely without popping out is the challenging part, as opposed to kind of like other designs where they have things just lock in place. So here, like example, you could see that's where I was telling you things kind of come untabbed. But yeah, yeah, so I'll try to show you kind of like ways I'm figuring things out. You just look for hinges and parts where they're supposed to open up, and you just, so here you find hinges and stuff, you know. And then most important things is like double hinges. You need to be aware of like double hinges, not there. And then some other things that helps, like you could see the tires. You could see the tire here, so you know that this needs to be rotated this way so the tires line up. So that's just like an example of, you know, how you're figuring out how to transform it. And then here I'm telling you, these are important things to know. Like this is a double hinge, so if it's a double hinge, there's a reason why it's not made to just go here to here. You know, there's two hinges to it. So yeah, there's just other things I'm pointing out. And then some things are pretty straightforward. Like I was telling you, you can easily figure out where things are supposed to go just by finding the tabs and the slots, corresponding slots, tab it in, and then give it a good squeeze, especially with these, because if you don't give it a good squeeze after, they might have a tendency to come undone. So open this up in order to flip this up, and do the same on the other side. Trying to, yeah, stay away from explaining things, just trying to do it and let you observe. That's how you learn, by observing and seeing what people are doing, and then you can kind of figure it out. Nice clickety snap there. That part holds in place. So there's an example, like these tabs work better than this area that you'll see, because you even heard the snap. That's proof that that one tabs in much more securely. And then let's see, trying to think of something else to say as I'm transforming this, and things like this, you could see it's not lined up. So here's other ways you can figure out how this is supposed to go the right way. So if you did it right, now you could see that they line up. So just giving you examples, what I'm thinking, what I'm looking at when I'm transforming the figure. And then here I'll just explain to you, this is why it's a double hinge, because you could see when you go up, it's not going in the direction it needs to, because it needs to fall back. And then now you'll see it lines up after you rotate the foot. So here you could see, now we can get this to line up. And then again, always looking for like the tabs and the slots where they go. And here, this is where I'm going to point out, this wasn't executed or very well, where things are going to lock in place like this one, that you heard that nice snap. Because now when you're trying to clean this all up on camera, now you'll see this is going to be a little challenging, trying to make sure everything gets all cleaned up. So yeah, so first here you could see, well, I already know that this needs to be open, because here I'm going to point things out. You could see this piece has 2 tabs that need to go behind here, so you could see the little cutout where it's supposed to go. And what makes it challenging is that it's on both sides. So this is where it becomes hard, and then you have to have it open, but then this part can't have open because this bottom piece is a little open. So yeah, the steps involved here is a little challenging. And then the top comes here. So now I'm trying to see if doing different order steps will help to get these tabs to go in. And so now, like I said, those tabs need to go behind this panel piece. And this is where you need to do that gentle tabbing in. Okay, so it's nice and flush. And then now you have to be careful, because you don't want to push this one in and cause that to collapse in, and then these tabs come out. So you need to do this very slowly and carefully. Same thing here, you need to I have a feeling that, okay, it stayed in. This one, I was telling you, this needs to be open in order for these tabs to go in, and in order for this to be open, this part needs to be open. So now we're trying to make sure that those 2 tabs fit into that little cutout pieces here. And let's see, just have to do this very gently. Okay, we got, and see, it's a little challenging, so now we gotta try one more time to get that upper tab to go in here. And this is where I was telling you, you have to do this part gently, because otherwise it's gonna go all the way in. So that's strike 2. So now let's see if we can get it in. Yes, there's a home run right there. And then we can carefully get this one in. Remember, there's a hooking tab there, this, and then now after all of that, make sure this part, do this very carefully, just to try to clean that up so it's nice and flush. And now you can see we have Nemesis Prime transformed into his alt mode. And here is a look at Nemesis Prime in his alt mode. So here you could see it's a nice looking alt mode, although he never transformed in the movie, so there's nothing to compare this to. But it is a nice looking vehicle for a mainline figure. I mean, they did put some nice silver paint, but it's not throughout, because this is a mainline figure. But overall, it's a nice figure. And in terms of the transformation, this is not a fun figure to transform, because this is basically a panel former with many tabs. that you're fussing to get them to stay tabbed in, because as you're trying to get other tabs to go in, you're untabbing the ones you just put in. So yeah, that's not very fun. But you know, it's engineered pretty well where, you know, things go where they need to go. It's just the problem is just so many panels and tabs that's very hard to get these all to come together. But anyways, here's a look at that. And then for comparison, here is the age of the primes. And yeah, this one, I don't know. I think maybe the plastic got warped or something, because you can see this one doesn't really clean up all nice and flush as well as this one. So I have a feeling that this one might have this same issue where, yeah, once I start pushing things to tab in, things are just gonna start falling apart. But anyways, you can see the difference between the two. The age of the prime, like I said, I really like the darker color blue. It even has a little shine to it, which looks nice. And this one, I don't know, they almost look the same, but yeah, like I said, this one seems to pop a little bit more because of the contrast, the dark and the light. This one, they're almost kind of like the same value, so it looks like one same color. But anyways, here's a look at that. So just to try to keep my videos short, because I don't know if they're doing very well. But yeah, I'm just going to end the review here and just let you know. This it's a nice figure to add to the collection. So now we're just missing what the other figures. I think the Hound, yeah, from the last night, because yeah, we need a new Studio Series version of that. But anyways, instead of rambling, here's a look at the Studio Series, the last night, Nemesis Prime.
I made you. You are mine to command.
Did you forget who I am?